Hey, welcome to the Explainer. You ever wonder what's really happening behind the scenes in your favorite games and apps? Well, we're going to pull back the curtain on the secret code that makes it all tick. And trust me, it's way simpler than you think. Let's dive right in.
Really think about it. You go to log into Roblox, right? Or maybe some fan voting app. How does it just know your password is correct? Out of millions of people. It happens in a split second. Kind of feels like magic, doesn't it?
Well, spoiler alert, it's not magic. It's actually just a handful of really simple rules. Think of them like Legos, basic building blocks. And in this explainer, we're going to stack those blocks together one by one. And you'll see the logic behind your favorite games. It's something anyone can totally get. All right, so our first building block, it's the most basic rule of all. Code has to follow a specific order. So this idea is officially called sequence. All it means is that the computer reads code just like you'd read a book, one line at a time from top to bottom. That's it. No jumping ahead, no guessing what's next, just a straight, logical path.
So take a look at this. First, the computer grabs the player's name. Done. Next line, it prints out a welcome message using that name. And then, final step, it prints get ready. See, it's just a simple 1, 2, 3 process. That's sequence right there. And this isn't some abstract textbook thing. Nope. This exact step-by-step process is happening every single time you fire up a match in a game like Mobile Legends. It loads your name, then your hero, then the map. It's that same sequence, every time, getting you right into the game. Okay, so our code can follow orders. That's cool. But where it gets really interesting is when code can start making its own decisions. This next building block, this is what makes an app or a game actually feel, well, smart. This is called selection. And honestly, it uses the same if this, then that logic we use every day. If it's raining, then I'll take an umbrella. Else, I won't. It's just like that. It gives the code a fork in the road, a choice to make. Let's check out this example. The code looks at a player's score. If that score is 90 or higher, boom, it prints rank S+. But if it's not, if it's anything lower, then it prints rank B. Super simple, right? It's just one decision based on one simple rule. And that is exactly how games rank your performance at the end of a match, or how your test scores get a letter grade. Behind the scenes, the computer is just making a quick, simple choice to figure out the result. Okay, that works for a single decision. But what about something more complicated, like a login that needs to check two things, right? Your username and your password. How does the code deal with that? It handles it by nesting the decisions, one inside the other. Think of it like a high-security building. First, the code checks your username. If, and only if that's correct, does it even bother to check the password. It's like the first door has to open before you can get to the second. And if they both check out, you're in. This is pretty much how Roblox and tons of other platforms keep your account safe. All right, so our code can follow a list of instructions, and it can make choices. But what happens when you needed to do the exact same thing over and over and over again? Can you imagine writing the same line of code 100 times? What a pain! Well, that's where our third building block saves the day. The fancy term is iteration, but pretty much everyone just calls them loops. And loops are all about being efficient. They're a brilliant way to tell the computer, hey, do this thing a bunch of times, without you having to write it out every single time. Check this out. This for loop right here is basically saying, for every round from 1 to 5, print a message saying that round has started. So instead of writing 5 lines of code, we just wrote 2. So much cleaner. And where do you see this? Think about a round-based game like PUBG. Every time that circle shrinks and a new phase begins, that's almost certainly a loop running in the background, keeping track of the round and getting things moving. Loops are also amazing for adding stuff up. Let's say you wanted to add up all the numbers from 1 to 10. A loop can blaze through that instantly, and the answer is 55. This is exactly how a voting platform can tally thousands of votes in a flash, or how a game adds up all your points. Okay, we're almost at the finish line. Our last couple of tools are all about how code handles words, not just numbers, and how it can juggle multiple rules at the same time. So code isn't just about math. It also works with text. And in the coding world, a piece of text is called a string. This is super useful for things like, say, mashing words together to create a personalized welcome message, or checking the length of your username to make sure it fits the rules. And now, let's put it all together. Think about getting into a concert or an R-rated movie. The code can use logic to check 2 things at once. First, is your age 13 or older? And second, do you actually have a ticket?
You have to pass both of those checks to get in. If even one is false, no entry. So there you have it. We've seen the main building blocks: sequence, selection, and iteration. Basically, following orders, making decisions, and repeating actions. Let's wrap this up and see why all this really matters. Just look at how this all fits together. You've got sequence, which creates the step-by-step flow of a game. You've got selection, which handles all the decision-making for things like ranks and passwords. And you have iteration, which runs the game rounds and counts up the score. Every single block we've talked about has a really important job.
And these aren't just for games. These are the absolute core skills behind so much of our digital lives. We're talking score calculators, fan voting systems, all the way up to huge online stores and complex dashboards. They're all built on these exact same simple ideas.
So it turns out the secret code isn't really a secret at all, is it? It's just a set of logical tools that, once you know how to use them, can build pretty much anything you can imagine. So I guess the only real question is, now that you've seen the building blocks, what would you build?